Hello everyone, my name is KelSounds. I wanted to take our growl that we made from the recent video and resample it inside of Faceplant. And I just wanted to show you guys how to make the preset that I made. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do here is open up Faceplant. Started with a fresh template. You're gonna want to grab a sampler generator and then go ahead and look for the sample that we made in the last video. And go ahead and drag and drop it inside of the sampler here. Alrighty, perfect. So we got our sample here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and come over here to the MIDI keyboard and go all the way to F0. Perfect, because I think that's what the root node of the sample is at. It's probably not going to sound right at first because we have to tune it over here where it says root. Okay, so I think it was F1, so go ahead and right click, hit F1. Perfect. And I don't think the MIDI note is long enough, so I'm going to go ahead and extend that a little bit longer. Okay, perfect. There it is. So the first thing that I did here was put a macro knob on the offset, which is like the starting point for the sample. And then I also went ahead and looped it. And so for the looping part, I kind of wanted it closer to the offset, so I wanted the length and the starting point and the offset to be close together as I'm moving it with the macro knob. So go ahead and add a macro knob on the offset, the start, and then the length. So I wanted it to move together, and as you can see, it's janked up right now. Looks like the length is like shooting up way faster than the start point and the offset. So I'm going to go ahead and do some tweaking. Just going to turn up the macro knob all the way. Ooh, it even disappears. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start with the offset. Right about here. Then I'm going to start with the starting point of the loop. Guess there's pretty good. And then the length. Let's see. Where did it go? Right around there is pretty good. Alright, it kind of squishes together, but that's okay. Probably adjust the length a little bit more. And there we go. And the starting point as well, probably like right there. There we go. Okay, so for this part, you just have to do a little bit of tweaking to kind of make the macro knob work well with the offset, starting point, and the length. But as you can see now, you can scroll through the whole sample. Okay, and then for the second part here, we're going to add the layer. But first I'm going to rename this, call this sample. And then we're going to add a new group, call this layer. And for this, we're just going to have an analog. I'm going to turn this up by 17. So that's pretty up there. I'm going to add a mix for the routing, and then for the output, there's actually not going to be any volume, so I'm just going to turn that down because this is going to be brought in when we add the movement filter. So this is just going to be sitting here for a while. Also, make sure the routing for your outputs are set right. So for the sample, it's going to lane 1. For the layer, it's going to lane 1. But for lane 1, hit lane 3, and for lane 2 is also going to be sent to lane 3. So it's just like before. Lane 1 is going to be like its own effects section. Lane 2, if we need to use that for the lows, we will. But everything's being sent to lane 3 as the final processing for stuff. So yeah, we're just going to leave that layer there for now, and we'll come back to it. Okay, so now for the meat and bones of the sound, which is like the FX section. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a new group and just call this FX. And so what I did here was I added 2 snap heaps, one for the first part of the effects, and the second one for the 2 dispersers and a distortion that I added. And so for the first snap heap, I put 2 filters. So I'm gonna go ahead and add 2 here, just disable this one really quickly. And then I called this macro up here movement. And I'm gonna add a high pass filter and kind of bring up the Q so it makes this like that kind of noise where it's like a wah. I don't know how else to explain that. Wah! I'm a bird. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and leave that there. and then just kind of mess with it too. So we're gonna. So that's too high for my liking, and maybe I'll set the cutoff to like, I'm gonna do like probably 200, and then that's also too high. So I'm gonna go ahead and adjust the cutoff some more for the modulation part, and I think I like that. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. Alright, perfect. So that's the first filter. For the second filter, I'll go and turn that on. I kind of did this shape, adjust this a little bit, and then go ahead and modulate the cutoff. Bring it down, bring this up, and so you can have both filters doing this kind of movement. It just makes it sound more interesting. And this part you can like tweak a little bit to your liking. For me, it's nothing really like too technical. It's just like what sounded best. Okay, and for the third effect, I added a frequency shift to make things even more interesting. You can go ahead and modulate the frequency shift here. Just a little tiny bit. I think I did like 1.5. So that's even a little bit too much. So I'm going to go ahead and just put it at 1. Or maybe 1.2. Let's see how that sounds. That sounds pretty good. I think I like that. And then for the fourth effect, I added a comb filter. I put the polarity on minus, so there's not a bunch of peaks on the frequency spectrum here. So maybe I'll put this at like 200. Do a little bit of movement with the modulation. And I think I like that, so I'm going to leave that there. Alrighty, and for the next effect, I added a flanger. I think I just use it to add some more movement to the sound. I like to use it for the spread, so I'll turn scroll off, and I'll turn the depth down, so there's not any modulation inside of the snap in here. And then what I'll do is I'll just put a macro on the delay here, and then just have that moving with the macro knob instead of it moving by itself. So it sounds something like this. Okay, so I have it at 65, and I like the way that sounds. And I don't think I added any spread to it in the first preset, so I'm just going to leave that there. For the last effect for this first snap heap, I added another filter, and I did a peak filter here. So I turned up the Q, put a macro knob on the cutoff, and kind of just mess around with this. So I don't want it going forward, I want it going backwards. I actually really like the way that sounds, so I'm going to leave that there. Okay, and for the second snap heap, I just added 2 dispersers, because I really like this effect. I've been using it a lot on some of my bass noises. So yeah, just picked a frequency range that I like the best. And then that's fine there. Then I added a little bit of overdrive distortion to bring out the sound a little bit more. And I'm going to go ahead and turn down the amount for these and kind of adjust these too. And instead of overdrive, I'm going to turn it to saturate and turn this up a little bit and turn the mix up slowly. Okay, perfect. Alright, so yeah, I have both of the snap-ins open, and then I'm just going to go ahead and rename this macro 2 to movement. And I'm actually going to call this macro 1 sample position. Alright, and then for the movement macro knob, I'm going to go ahead and control the movement, and then going to control the mix. And it should sound something like this. And then the last thing I'm going to do here for the FX, I'm going to go ahead and add I think it was a 3-band EQ, and bring up the highs a little bit to around maybe like 2 decibels, I think I had it at. And actually, I think this 3-band EQ is going to go into a new group, and I'm going to call this new group boost/cut, because we boosted the high end. And then I'm going to go ahead and add 2 filters with a high pass cutoff of, I think it was at 100. I'm going to do 190 because our bass is going to be at 170 or around that frequency range. And I'm going to go ahead and add 2 of them just to make sure that those frequencies are cut off. Alright, and for the next part of the sound, we're going to go ahead and add the bass. So add a new group here and call this just bass. And then we're going to go ahead and just add a analog generator and put a square wave here, and then because it's more aggressive sounding, and then put a filter, and the cutoff is going to be like 170. And so for the bass, it's also going to move along with the filter movement. So as this goes up, the bass is going to go up in pitch as well. Oh, and I forgot, for outputs, put an envelope and send it to lane 3. And then we're going to go ahead and modulate the semi-cent. And I want it to be at 12, so you can just put 12 semitones. And there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and lower that a little bit to like negative, maybe like 14, or maybe even negative 13. Alright, and that's the bass part. Okay, so I actually forgot something inside of the preset here. We're going to go ahead and add a snap heap. I forgot to add the frequency shifter, which is an important part of the sound. So go ahead and grab a snap heap, or a third one, and open it up. Put a frequency shifter, right click, set it to 8, and do parallel processing, and it creates this like wobbly effect. I think it's mainly because of the frequencies going in and out of phase with each other. Since this lane is going faster, or since this lane is shifted higher in frequency than this lane, it creates that kind of effect. So yeah, that's an important part of the sound. Okay, so I went ahead and added a new group and called it Final Touches. So before we get into the post-processing of the final sound, we're going to go ahead and add our layer sound in. And we're just going to add a macro knob on the gain. I think I had it to like 20 last time, so let's see how that sounds. Let's see, 21. Okay, so I think I like it set at 21. And of course, you can go ahead and tweak the volume to however loud you want it. But yeah, that's our layer added in. Just add some more harmonics to the overall sound. Okay, so for the final processing, I went ahead and added a filter and did a cut at 250 hertz where the muddy frequencies are at, and to about like, I think -7, and boost the Q up a little bit. Kind of get a cleaner sound. And then for the next thing, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. I added a multipass and added a dynamics in each frequency band. And for the low end, we're going to go ahead and set it to 170 hertz where our bass frequencies are. And I'm going to go ahead and grab a stereo and set this to mono. Put a dynamic on the highs, mids, and the lows. I might leave those alone. And so what I did was set the downwards compression for each band here all the way down. Kind of just do this for the threshold. And then I pretty much smashed the signal. I put the end gain all the way up to 24, so it's like really loud. And then what I did was soloed each band and listened to the sound as I adjusted parameters here. Like -23, and for the release I made it a little bit faster, and for the attack I also made it faster. And then for the mids, kind of did the same thing. I grabbed the threshold and set it to wherever I found it most appropriate. We can go ahead and listen to both of these at the same time. And I'm going to go ahead and increase the release. Maybe increase the release a little bit for the high end as well. And then let's just see what it sounds like without. And then with. That's pretty much that. And the lows I'm just going to leave alone. Not gonna mess with the lows. And let's see what that sounds like. So yeah, definitely gives a little bit of life to the sound. So this is without the multipass, and this is with the multipass. I'm gonna go ahead and set the release for the high is actually a little bit higher, at like 100. And I'm gonna go ahead and adjust the threshold a little bit too, to like -25 for both. And so yeah, I like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add a gain inside of the post FX for the multipass and increase the gain by, I think, like 2 decibels. I think I like the way that sounds. And then the next effect that I added was the ring mod. And so I set the frequency all the way down, the spread to about 20%, and then I went ahead and automated the mix, and so it sounds like this. And for the next effect that I added, I put a frequency shifter, and I don't know if you noticed, but I have a thing called pitch down here. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that. But it's pretty much just an LFO, and I turn the modulator to off, go in here, kind of make this kind of shape. At another point here, I went ahead and modulated the frequency shifter over here. I think I turned the rate to like 14, and it adds this like laser effect, and I think I set this to 50. And this is going to require a little bit of tweaking, so you can go ahead and adjust the LFO how you would like. Yeah, and I think I like it set there. And so it should sound like this. I went ahead and turned the ring mod off. It just adds more punch to the sound. And that's pretty much the sound. Like I said before, I'm going to go ahead and release the instrument rack and the preset on my website. The link's going to be in the description. It's going to be free, and I'm also going to release the sample pack that I made with the with this preset. So I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next video. Adios.